Alright, I guess it's time for the TheDuellogs Q and A. Number 3. I had planned on making this in January, and it's towards the end of January, but it's still in January. So it counts as being over about a month or something, because I want to do these like once a month, but once every month and a half seems to work too. Let's get straight into the questions. There was actually quite a lot, but a lot of them were repeats, so I'm just going to go with what I have. First question, do you have any plans for the future career-wise? Say, for example, WoW dies, or you just simply run out of content ideas to make. Do you think you'll ever want to try to pursue a traditional job, or just try to make different YouTube videos? Obviously, I don't want any of the above-mentioned scenarios to actually happen, nor do I believe them. I'm simply asking as a curious fan. I'd love to see a continuation of this series on the channel, maybe once or twice a month, if it's possible. Keep up the great work. Well, for the last part of that question, once or twice a month, no, that's not gonna happen. The first video didn't do very well. Only got about 2,000 views, which is what I expected. That's why this is gonna be like a once in a while kind of thing. Because for the people who do watch it, they seem to like it. I know I like to watch Q&A videos of random YouTubers, but only because I'm a huge YouTube file. I watch YouTube videos constantly. And I like to hear about people's lives who make YouTube videos because it's relatable to me. I don't understand why you guys would want to hear anything about me, though, or anyone else, but I get why I like that kind of stuff. But to actually answer the question itself, do I have any plans for the future career-wise if WoW dies? Because I make a lot of my money by making WoW videos on YouTube. This Yu-Gi-Oh channel is just kind of a side thing I do for fun. No, I don't have any plans. I could probably go back to school and finish my degree, although I'll probably do that anyway. I kind of wanted to like save up enough money to go back and just finish it without being in debt. And I only went to school in the first place just to say I went. That way I could brag about it. And I still kind of want to do that. But man, is it a lot of work. I'd have to do it like really slowly over time. Plus that'd be a lot of money. Like maybe 1 or 2 classes a semester. And just do it really slowly that way. Because I already have like almost all of the prereqs done. If not all of them, like 90% of them done. I had so much of them done. All I have to do is actually go into the psychology classes. Because that's what I was going to school for psychology. And I could always just go back and do that. Other than that, I don't really plan for the future, so to speak. I just kind of go with the flow. And that's how I kind of got into YouTube in the first place, was because I just decided to randomly do it one day. And I had a lot of free time, and I was able to turn it into something. Also, to go into your next part, do you think you'll ever be able to... do you think you'll ever want to try to pursue a traditional job, or just try to make different YouTube videos? Oh, if WoW dies and everything. The thing is, with YouTube, I could basically take what I've learned and apply it to anything else. So I could easily just switch what I do to another genre or video game, another genre or video game, or even just take Yu-Gi-Oh more seriously, and just make videos for that, and probably do well, because I know how YouTube works and I know what gets views. The only reason I don't do that now is because I already have no free time to do anything else. I really actually just kind of want to hire an editor to make more videos for me, because I have ideas and stuff, but then I have to hire people to also research stuff, and I've experimented with both, and holy crap, is working with an editor not worth the effort or the pain in the ass, because I've had every single editor I've worked with has flaked out at me. Like, they'll work for a little bit, they'll do some stuff, it'll seem promising, they'll be all gung-ho about it, and then they've realized how much work editing actually is, because it's usually always like teenagers and then they stop, and then they just don't reply, and they just drop off the face of the earth. And it's already happened 3 times now. But I haven't actually like seriously searched from editor. These are just people who reached out to me and were like, "Hey, I'd love to edit for you." And I was like, "Oh, cool, I'll give you a chance. Here's a couple of things you can research and then put together." And then they just stop. One of them actually made a couple of videos before he gave up. Where was I going with this? Oh, yeah. I also because researching a script too for like the very detailed, script-intensive, fact-heavy videos that I make sometimes require a lot of research. It's like writing a research paper every time you're writing a script for one of those videos I make. And I had some fans who were offering to do it for free. Even though I offered to pay, I don't know why people are so hesitant about asking for money. But, I mean, I do know. I don't know why I'm saying I don't know. What I should be saying is, I think it's a stupid stigma, but I understand why it exists, and it doesn't apply to me. Like, if I paid them, they'd have more incentive to actually take more time and do it better, and not flake out after doing one video and realizing it's a lot of work, and that they don't want to research anymore. But yeah, whatever. Researching videos is also something I can't really get other people to do either, unless I pay them a lot more than what I was offering. Also, I can't just let fans do it for free, because for one, they're not as good as researchers as I am, because I have a lot more experience. And two, they flake out after a while and don't want to get the experience, because, I mean, it's a lot of work, and they're doing it for free because they won't accept money. But whatever. One of these days, I'll put out like job listings or something, and I'll expand the kinds of videos I make, because I know what to do in order to make money on YouTube. It just requires a lot of work. And I don't like managing people because it's a pain in the ass. People are so wonderful. Man, I love people. So let's see. Man, the first question's pretty long. Career-wise, I don't think about the future. I just kind of do whatever I feel like, because I'm a very whimsical person. I don't recommend you do that, but that's just how I am. I base my entire life based on whims. I could one day just decide I don't want to do YouTube anymore and just stop, and probably go work at the local gas station or something. I don't think I'll do that. But that's totally something I could see myself doing. As long as I'm having fun in life, I don't really care what I do. I don't really have any goals for the future. The fact that I kind of fell into YouTube is just a happy coincidence. And the fact that I'm generally good at everything I do, so I was able to figure out how to work YouTube to make money from it. And it's as much work as a normal job, but it's a lot more fun to do. That's for sure. Okay, so let's see, next question. Here's a couple questions for next month. Generally speaking, how long does it take you to record for an episode? Like, how many duels do you end up playing before you get 3 interesting wins? Also, are there any episodes/decks you've made that you are particularly proud of? Also, to answer your question about age, I'm 29, so don't feel too old. How long does it take to record an episode? It can either take 30 minutes at the absolute easiest and slowest thing, and it usually takes about an hour. I say an hour and a half. Because, then how long does it take to actually build a deck? It takes like 30 minutes to build a deck too. If it's a deck I already know everything about, if I have to research actually how to play the deck first, it'll take a little bit longer. How does 2 to 3 hours sound? That's generally speaking how long it takes to make a video. 2 to 3 hours for one video, but I can also work on multiple videos at a time. Shit, how long does it take? I remember 2 to 3 hours doesn't sound right. I can usually do it a little bit quicker than that. Maybe an hour and a half to do a video, unless it just takes forever. I remember I had a video recently, like the Chainlink 4 Actually, I think that's a very recent video. Like, once I upload this one, that'll be the video before, since I was busy working on something else over the weekend, so I didn't have anything else to do. I mean, I didn't make another video. The Chainlink 4 video, where I went through like 6 or 7 versions of the deck, that one took about 5 or 6 hours to make, with, you know, just all the deck building and testing. But how long does it take to get 3 interesting wins? About double the amount of duels you see. For like every one that I win, there's always one that's not interesting, or there's mistakes that were made. Since I'm usually playing the deck for the first time, I make a lot of mistakes at the beginning, so I gotta kind of figure that out. Or if my opponent makes a really annoying mistake, I don't use that footage because I do prioritize entertainment over, you know, everything else. The duel has to be interesting. Just because I win or just because I lose doesn't necessarily mean the video will be used or discarded. I'll sometimes show a loss if it's interesting. But I also don't show too many losses because that's not interesting to see me lose over and over. Because I've done experiments with that. And I also kind of knew from like, well, of course nobody wants to see losses. But I also made some videos where I showed a bunch of losses and people didn't want to see that. So I was like, okay, that just kind of confirmed my theory. Let's see, about 1.5 hours, about 2 hours for each video. It doesn't take that long compared to the other videos I make. I can also do all my duels while watching YouTube videos, so it's enjoyable work too. But it does take a while. That's why it's kind of hard to make more than 1 video a day. I remember there was one time where I was doing like 2 or 3 videos a day. I don't know how I did that. It's hard enough just to do 1 video a day right now. And yet there was a time when I was doing 2 or 3. Maybe those decks weren't very good or something. Maybe I didn't really put too much effort into... or maybe I was just in the zone and I was really into Yu-Gi-Oh! At that time. It's not like I'm not now. Whenever I get into deck building, I always, you know, get into it. But it would be nice to do 2 or 3 videos. It'd be cool if I could just make a deck and have someone get footage for me. But most of like the footage I get, I'll usually go and like change the deck out in between testing it. So the first version I use doesn't usually end up as the final version that shows up in the actual video. And if I just made a deck then gave it to someone else to get footage, they'd probably just have to use that deck as is, and I wouldn't have anything to like edit from it. So that's kind of a problem, where I usually edit the deck after testing it. So I can't really do that. But the system I have now is totally fine. It's like perfect. 1 video a day, and it's not really that big of a deal. And I sometimes work on like 2 or 3 videos a day. And then I'll just set them for a schedule upload. Because luckily YouTube has a feature where you can just schedule your uploads. Also answer your question about age. I'm 29. Oh yeah, that was... in my last Q and A video, I said that I'm 24 years old and I assumed all my audience was really young. And then I got a whole bunch of comments about people who are older than I am. It's like, damn, there's a lot of old people playing Yu-Gi-Oh! Don't you guys know this is a children's card game? Next question. Have you watched Madoka Magica? Yes, I have. Madoka Magica is like in my top 5 of favorite animes. It's just so great. Let's see, what are my other ones, though? If I were to put Madoka Magica in my top 5, the other ones would have to be Welcome to the NHK, The World God Only Knows, Hunter x Hunter, and then Steins Gate, I guess? You know, in addition to Madoka Magica. I think that's a pretty good top 5. My top 5 favorite animes. Number 1, I have no idea. I really like Madoka Magica, but I also really like The World God Only Knows, and Hunter x Hunter, and Monogatari, too. You know what? I'm pretty sure half the people who are watching this don't watch anime, so they don't want to hear this stuff. Next question. You have a second channel? Yeah, you guys are watching it. This is my second channel. Back when I started YouTube videos, I uploaded all of them into one channel. I actually still have some of my very first Yu-Gi-Oh videos on my other channel, which is nothing but World of Warcraft now, which is called Haruma Red X. It recently hit 90k subs. At the very beginning, it also had Yu-Gi-Oh stuff, but then I had a problem where I was uploading WoW videos and Yu-Gi-Oh videos, but I noticed that my audience was only watching either or, and not both of them. Which makes total sense because they're both completely different things. World of Warcraft is a MMO, and Yu-Gi-Oh is a card game. So I decided to do a split. My World of Warcraft stuff was a lot more popular, so I decided that would stay on the channel. And I would instead move my Yu-Gi-Oh stuff, which was not as popular, but still did pretty well for a brand new YouTuber. Looking back on it, each video was getting like 20 views or something each, which I thought was pretty great. I was like, damn. My WoW videos only get like 50 views. Sometimes 100 though, because that's a crap ton. So I decided just to make a new channel pretty early on. Well, it wasn't really early on. It was like 6 months later. But I was still super small at the time, so I made a new channel. And I just named it TheDuellogs, and that's where everything's at. And then I made a third channel, or I wanted to upload Let's Plays, and then I changed that into something else, and now I have a whole bunch of other channels, because I like to make videos for fun, and I can't really put the videos on my main channel since it's basically just World of Warcraft now, and it wouldn't make sense for me to put like a joke video there, so I made a channel for hand-drawn joke videos, and then one for random top 10s, because top 10 videos do very well, and I thought that would be a really good channel to try to grow. And it is a really good idea, but I just don't have time to work on it. But I do work on it sometimes, and I hired my little brother to make videos for it over the summer. It was a nice way to give him a little summer job, while at the same time trying to put some videos on the channel to make it seem active. But if I really just took that channel seriously, I know it could take off. But I can't because I don't have time for that. Or I'd have to sacrifice time from my main channels. And my Yu-Gi-Oh channel, I like to call it my second channel because it was the second channel I made. And it's also my second most popular, which is neat. Because my first channel has 90k subs, and then my Yu-Gi-Oh channel has like, it's over 15k, I don't remember what it is, but it's over 15k. And then my third most popular channel has like 3k. So there's a big leap in between each one of them. 90 to 15 to 3. And then below that it's like 2, and then 1k, and then like 500 subs, and then around 200 subs for all the other ones. Like, I have a whole bunch of really small channels. My Yu-Gi-Oh one is my second largest, but it's still not as big as my main channel, which is the largest. But still, 15k subs is not half bad. This channel is doing pretty well for itself. Not well enough, or if I didn't have my main channel, there's no way I'd be able to live off of the income from this channel alone. Unless I took it more seriously and put out a whole bunch of more videos. Like, if I just focused on Yu-Gi-Oh, I could absolutely put out 2 videos a day. Because I'd be doing nothing but playing videos, and I could probably also stream, and then go back to making top 10s and stuff, or other kind of, more highly edited content. Think like Rank 10 Yu-Gi-Oh! He's a good example of someone who does Yu-Gi-Oh! Content, but does scripted, highly edited content. If I was able to, if I made the switch to Yu-Gi-Oh! Only, I'd be making videos like that. Highly edited, highly researched, scripted, cool videos. In addition to gimmick decks, because, I do this channel for fun and I like to make gimmick decks. I also started playing Hearthstone when that first came out, but I just couldn't get into it because it just didn't have as many decks as Yu-Gi-Oh! And it doesn't have a replay feature, so I couldn't do that. Next question. What do you think about card prices? Pot of Desires, $70 to $100? I don't care. I don't actually buy the physical cards anymore. I just do everything online. The main reason about that is... did I actually explain why I don't really play the physical card game anymore? There are only 2 places near me that do local events, or that did when I actually researched them a couple years ago and I wanted to try that. One of them was in a really small comic book store where there was a ton of people crammed into a tiny place, and that was not something I want to go back and do again. And the other one was a much bigger comic book store, but only 2 other people showed up, and they were both children. So I was like, I can't reliably come to this one either. And they were both equally like 30-minute drive away from my house. None of them are close. 30 minutes like on the low, and they were more like 45 minutes away. They're pretty far. There are no close places to me, so I have to go out of my way, and both of the places are not ideal. So I'd rather just do it online rather than deal with that pain in the ass. So I don't buy cards anymore. But I used to, and I used to spend like all of my minimum wage money on it because that was when I was still like in high school or something like that. So I have like a box of Yu-Gi-Oh cards in my room, but I don't buy anything new. And I don't really have any intention of doing that in any time soon, but I might. You never know. I never know. Next question. I'm obviously early in the vid, but I'm 22, and I just started playing Yu-Gi-Oh again in the summer after trying Yu-Gi-Oh! Legacy of the Duelists on Xbox One. Like you, I played when I was a kid with my friends in like 5th or 6th grade. It's like I'm addicted to it now because I love playing it for nostalgic reasons. So that's how I found your channel to feed my Yu-Gi-Oh addiction. Keep up the good work. I guess Yu-Gi-Oh is kind of nostalgic. I did play too when I was like in 4th grade, when it first came out in 2001. So 2001, 2017, so I've been playing it for over 15 years now. Get on my level, Scrups. Also, you're 22. I'm still older than you. I'm 24, but that's still older than what I thought most of the people who are probably playing it were. Next question. Why did you name your second channel TheDuellogs? I feel like I forgot to answer this question. I remember in my last Q and A video, I actually had this written down as like one of the frequently asked questions, and I skipped over it by mistake. So I'll answer it here. Why is this channel called TheDuellogs? I think this was asked by a fan from my WoW channel who was subscribed to this channel even though I know he doesn't play Yu-Gi-Oh! This channel is called TheDuellogs because back when I used to play Yu-Gi-Oh! Online, when that was still a thing, I think they closed down in 2012 or something. So they've been gone for a while. But that game, holy crap. If you want to talk about like one of the worst monetization models for a video game you can make, that's a good example. Konami is just fucking terrible. Oops, sorry, I didn't mean to use an expletive. Konami is not very good when it comes to microtransactions in video games, especially about their card game. Because in order to get cards, you had to go to third-party sites and buy them from there, and then have those people hit you up in-game and trade them to you. Because if you wanted specific cards, they only had like a small pool of them that you could buy from, and you had to buy like their dual points in order to do it, and their dual points were like very overpriced and expensive. It was like, I don't know, $3 for like 100 dual points, and the average like staple card, because they totally did charge more for staple cards because they knew which ones were good or not. I don't know, it was like 300 dual points, so you had to spend like $9 for an MST in game. That's if it was available, of course, because they didn't have everything for sale. Because otherwise you wouldn't buy packs in game, which were $3 each for 5 cards. Like about how much it cost for a real pack of cards. Except you got like half the amount. Also, they had limited event cards, which you could only get at events, which you had to pay money for in order to get the dual points, in which you had to enter a tournament, and you had to get a certain amount of wins in the tournament in order to be able to buy the event cards. No, you didn't win them from the event after winning a couple of rounds from the tournament. You still had to buy them, because, fuck you, that's why. Ooh, I'm sorry, expletive again. Because we want your money, and we are Konami, and they wonder why nobody plays the game. Also, the starter deck they gave you was literally the worst piece of garbage ever. It was so bad. I felt sorry for new players when I was going against them. It was like, oh, I have this deck that I spent like $100 on. It's so much better than yours, but still very mediocre when compared to the other people who spent thousands of dollars on this game. Man, I feel sorry for you. Literally, the only thing you can do is like the Ben K OTK. Otherwise, you have a whole bunch of really crappy vanilla cards and a couple of like equip cards, and it was absolutely terrible. The game was garbage. I can understand why it closed down. Konami wasn't making enough money from it because it was a terrible game. But that all to say, there was a guy in Yu-Gi-Oh! Online who called himself TheDuellogs because they did have a replay feature in there, and your replays were called your duel logs. And his channel name was TheDuellogs. Well, not TheDuellogs, it was just DuelLogs. And he had his own website. And his YouTube channel is still up. And he would make all of these really creative gimmick decks. And I was like, wow, these are so good. And I'd watch all of his videos, and I went to his website and watched all his videos there. He'd been playing Yu-Gi-Oh! Online since the very beginning, because I'd only started playing Yu-Gi-Oh! Online like its last version before it closed down. This guy had been playing it since like it first opened up. Like 2006 or 8 or something. So he already had like all the cards. I'm pretty sure he spent thousands of dollars on that game. And then when they closed down Yu-Gi-Oh! Online, he quit playing Yu-Gi-Oh! Which is totally understandable because he probably spent so much money on that game. And it was kind of sad that he stopped playing Yu-Gi-Oh! Because I really liked his videos, and then when I started making videos a couple years later, I wanted to open up a second channel for my Yu-Gi-Oh! Videos, and I was like, ooh, I will call myself TheDuellogs. And that's where the name came from. I just stole it from a guy I liked, whose channel I liked. I basically copied his style of videos, too, of how I do my videos. Well, I kind of copied a different guy. I changed it a while ago. It used to be I would just show the duels, and then show the deck at the end, and that was it. And then I saw his name's Lithium, right? Yeah, I'm pretty sure it's that. I'm not only drawing a blank because I've just realized that his name is like an element, or like a chemical. Yeah, Lithium, he would do like, he would talk about the deck in the intro, and then he would show the duels and talk about them, and at the end he would show the deck too. And I was like, I'm not going to talk during the duels because they go too fast, because I have a good video recorder. I could probably slow them down in editing, but I'm not going to do that either because that would take too long. But I will take the part where he talks about the deck briefly at the beginning and do that as well, and that's how I did. I copied a little bit of the DuelLogs, which everybody pretty much did, and then a little bit of Lithium by talking about it in the beginning, and that's how I do the videos. That's also how I do my pet battle videos over on my pet battle channel for Yu-Gi-Oh! Because in World of Warcraft, they have this system called like pet battles, which is basically like Pokemon within the game. So it's like a really giant mini game within a game, and it's not very popular. We're the point where even though it's inside of WoW, people on my WoW channel do not like to watch those videos. So I had to make its own separate channel for that as well. I had to branch it out. So I have its own channel, and I basically do that. I talk about the team, because it's basically like Pokemon. It's like I talk about the team, how it does, what it's trying to do, what the advantages, and blah, blah, blah. And then I have the games, but I actually commentate over those, because there isn't a replay feature, so I have to do it all live. Oh, and I really like the replay feature. It makes my job a lot easier. Otherwise, I'd have to live commentate all of my games, which would be a pain in the ass, because then I wouldn't be able to watch YouTube videos while I do Yu-Gi-Oh! Videos. Okay, next question. Your favorite Yu-Gi-Oh! Series and summoning method? Series 0 and XYZ summoning. I actually read the manga of Yu-Gi-Oh! Not before the anime. I watched the anime back like in 2001. But I also read the manga series from Shonen Jump. And I remember thinking, man, this shit is awesome. Because Yugi would do a whole bunch of like death games. with people, not just card games. He did card games like once, and they got really popular, and that's what became the entire thing. But the games he did before that were great. That's my favorite. Of course, also Little Karibo's Yu-Gi-Oh! Abridged. Everything he does there is great too. My favorite summoning method, XYZ, because it's like the most balanced summoning method. Tuners and synchros, they're okay. I like them enough. I don't hate them. And I am slightly above neutral to them. Like, I do like them, but not that much, because it allows you to use old cards if you have a tuner to go into bigger stuff. I was like, oh, this is kind of like how fusion summoning should have been. But it requires, like, way too much math. Like, if you're playing a really heavy synchro deck, you got to do a whole bunch of kinds of math. Like, oh, I'm going to use this level 1 tuner, and I have a level 3 and a level 4 on the field, but I have the ability to summon 2 level 1 tokens, but I also have a level 5 synchro monster out, and I have to go into this in order to create a level 10 in order to make blah, blah, blah. There's a lot of unnecessary math you have to do, which kind of makes it a pain in the ass. But that's only for certain synchro decks. For the most part, you're just going into like one level, so it's not really a big deal. But you also need tuner cards, which I don't really like. But with XYZ monsters, you can just use anything as long as they have a level, which I really like. It's like if you were to take XYZ cards and like go back in time, they'd be able to use them in their decks back in the day. As long as, you know, explain to them how the mechanics works. Like, really? You just put 2 monsters with the same level on top of each other? And they have a limited amount of times they can use their effect? Oh, that's pretty balanced and easy to do. And then pendulum summonings, it's kind of gimmicky. Kind of like overpowered gimmicky. To the point where, I don't know. It's fine. I think XYZ, though, is probably the best. I can't really see them adding another summoning method, but then again, I couldn't really see them topping XYZ summons. And then they made pendulum summoning, and I was like, XYZ summon's still better. But pendulum summoning is gimmicky, I guess, and it's a really strong gimmick. I'll give you that. But, I don't know. Aren't they making another summoning method? I don't know. Okay, next question. Oh, man, this is taking me a lot longer to do than I thought. Time to blitz through these last ones. Your mom is a drug addict? How did that affect your upbringing? Not as much as you'd think. You see, at the time, I thought it was normal. It's only bad looking back on it. But, you're surprisingly able to adapt to anything. Humans are very adaptable species. You adapt to extreme poverty. Plus, my mom was never abusive or anything. She was just a drug addict. We were just really poor. That's the worst part of it. I mean, that was the worst of it. Oh, next question. What other Yu-Gi tubers do you watch? Rank 10, Yu-Gi-Oh! I talked about him. Lithium. This other guy, Razor XP. Didn't I talk about this in my last video? No, I think I did, and I cut it out because I was just shit talking to other YouTubers. And that's not a good thing to have. Capital G. He's basically where I get all my news from. Obviously, Asian Eyes White Dragon. That way I can see if there's a video I shouldn't make next. I like to subscribe to the bigger ones. That way I can know whether or not to do a certain type of deck. Because if I do copy them, like, it's not because, you know, I don't want to be like them. It's 100% because people will accuse me of copying them if I make a deck after they've made one. So I have to know what they are. Like, even if I make a deck and I had no idea they've made a deck, that's not an excuse, because people will be like, of course you've seen them because they're popular. And obviously you copied the idea because it's so similar. I was like, nope, I'm not dealing with that. So I'm subscribed to all the big ones. That way I can know what to avoid. Also, whatchamacallit, that one guy, Yu-Gi-Oh! For Real Men. Yeah, I get accused of copying his videos all the time. Every time I make a video that's similar to one of his, oh, did you copy this from Yu-Gi-Oh! For Real Men? and I think, oh, he must have made a video on this. I think the last time it happened was like the zombie deck I made. It was, whatchamacallit, the soul absorbing bone tower mill. Yeah, I think I made that one. And then I got a whole bunch of people saying that I copied Yu-Gi-Oh! For Real Men. I was like, oh, so he made one too? And I looked at his, and my deck was better because it had more updated cards, and his was like 2 years old, so obviously mine was better. But they were pretty similar, so I could totally see why people were doing that. No, I didn't copy it. It's just there's a finite amount of cards, and parallel thinking is a thing. And the best way to deal with that is just to ignore it. So I didn't reply to any of those comments because there's nothing to gain from commenting to them. Because if you defend yourself, people will be like, of course you're defending yourself. And if you agree to it, well, I didn't. So there's nothing you can really say about it. So the best thing you can do is just to ignore it. I don't really read comments that often anyway, so it's not really a big deal. Actually, that's not true. I do read comments sometimes. I also check my videos because I don't exactly watch my videos all the way through after I render them and upload them. So sometimes there might be like an editing mistake or a really big one. I think one time I uploaded a video and it just went black screen after the first 2 minutes. And I was like, oh shit, I'm gonna have to go back and fix that. And I knew that because a whole bunch of people commented, it's like, oh shit, I think your video is messed up. And I was like, what are you talking about? And I actually watched the whole thing. I was like, oh, you're right, it is messed up. That's only happened like once. But because it happened once, I always think it's going to happen again, so I read comments to check that. Most of the time, comments are fine, actually. I don't know why I'm going into this whole thing about how I don't read comments. I do read them, I just don't read them as much as other YouTubers do. Because I'm friends with a lot of YouTubers, and some of them obsessively check their comments. I also know Rank 10 Yu-Gi-Oh! Obsessively checks his comments too, because he tweets about them all the time. I mean, I think all new YouTubers do that. I know I used to as well. But then once you get so many, you just kind of stop reading them after a while. But I do still read them sometimes, and I sometimes get some really good suggestions for videos. So there's benefits to reading it. But there's also lots of detriments to reading comments too. So it's actually better if you don't. But then again, you also don't want to ignore your comments. So there's kind of like a balancing act to it. Because it's not good for your mental health to read all those negative comments. I remember I used to have this one guy who would comment on all of my videos to correct my pronunciations of cards. Because he couldn't understand how I could possibly mispronounce the name of a random Japanese name card. For those of you people who don't make videos, names are not always pronounced the way they're spelled. But I also just ignored those too, because you can't really argue with them. It's really hard not to argue, though, with negative comments, until you get used to ignoring them. But at first, I used to comment back to them, try to be sarcastic or, answer their concerns, but that was always a futile effort. I've never gotten, oh, maybe you're right about this point. I see your point of view. My bad. No, it's always them just digging their heels and going further into how they're right and how I'm wrong. And why do I have to convince this random person? I have better things to do with my time. I'm already busy enough making all these videos. Okay, so next question. I didn't really mean to go on a rant about comments. Most of them are fine. Like 99% of them, that's how many are fine. It's just human brains are wired to remember negative things. That's why even though a majority of them, a vast majority of them are positive and totally fine, you'll hear YouTubers only talk about the negative ones. Because the human mind is programmed to think about negative things. Because positivity is normal. Next question. What other YouTubers do you watch? Collab with Rank 10 maybe? Oh, a collab with Rank 10 maybe? You see, I always get questions like these, like, why don't you collab with X other YouTuber? And it's like, Well, I mean, I'm not against collabing, but like, what would we do? What's the point of it? We're both busy people. We both have things to do. And is there really a big benefit to us collabing with each other? Other than to get to know each other better? Like, I have a whole bunch of YouTuber friends, and I'm in some of their videos. But mainly just because we're friends, and we're sometimes in each other's videos because, we ask. It's like, hey, can you do a voice for me? Or, hey, do you want to play this video game, and I'll record it, and I'll probably edit it together for a video? It's like, sure, that sounds like fun. I also get asked to do collabs sometimes, and they'll be like, hey, do you want to do this one little bit part? I'm like, sure, that's not too time-consuming. And I would happily do that because it sounds like fun. But I don't really go out of my way to collab with other people for the sake of collaborating. It's more like if I had an idea in which Rank 10 Yu-Gi-Oh! Would be good in, I'd reach out to him and be like, hey, do you want to take part in this video? But I'm not going to do it for the full sake of collaboration because I don't really see a point in it. I also should probably mention, like, there's no real point in collabing with people who are bigger than you either, because exposure is worthless. Do it for fun, not because you want to get bigger. Unless you're just, like, really small, like, I don't know, less than 50 subscribers. Then, any subscriber is gonna seem big. But most of the time, like, shoutouts and everything don't mean anything after a certain point. Like, there's nothing to gain from my 90k sub channel collabing with other people who are similar size or bigger. But I still do it anyway just because. Why not? I have no reason not to sometimes, as long as it's not, someone asking me, hey, do you want to create a video for me? No. Why would I do that? Are you paying me for this? Even if you are, how much, and why would I want to do that when I can make more money creating my own video? But you want me to, like, do a little speaking part in your video? Sure, why not? I don't mind. Did I just really go off on a rant about collaborations? Well, if he wants to collab, I'd be up for it. I have no reason to refute Rank 10 Yu-Gi-Oh! Especially since I'm a huge fan of him. I was just talking about collaborations in general. And how, the most normal people who aren't really into YouTube as much as I am probably don't know how much collaborations don't really mean anything. Next question. Do you stream Yu-Gi-Oh? And most of all, what do you think of playing versus some fans? I would definitely play some Yu-Gi-Oh games versus you, XD. I don't really stream Yu-Gi-Oh, but I have a couple times. And every time I have streamed Yu-Gi-Oh, I did play against fans. That's basically all I did, was just duel against fans. I don't really have the time to do it, though. But I have done it randomly, and I might do it again randomly in the future. Next question. Reasons why I see your gameplays. Number 1, your voice. Number 2, the actual gameplay. Your story about Yu-Gi-Oh, your mom and the devil. So related, XD. Reasons why I watch your videos, I guess. Your voice and the actual gameplays. Oh, why, thank you. I guess you like my monotone voice. Also, apparently, after I told the story about how my mom threw away my Yu-Gi-Oh cards because they were of the devil, that happened to a number of other people as well. That was not a isolated incident that only happened to me. I assumed it had happened to other people as well, but it's always nice to get confirmation about that. It's like, oh, so you guys also had crazy, stupid parents. That sucks. Next question. Why is Aki or Akiza your profile pic? I think when I started making my second channel, I didn't really have a good idea for an avatar, so I just typed out, like, Yu-Gi-Oh! Avatars or something similar to that. And the Aki pic I have caught my eye. And I was like, ooh, if that caught my eye, that will catch other people's eyes because it's a nice clickbaity thing. So I just used that. It's clickbait. And I thought it would get people into the channel. And I'm not really sure it did. I think it was just the videos themselves. And I don't really see a reason to change it now. Yeah, I thought it would be clickbaity. and I guess it might have been for some people, but I don't think it was really a factor in my videos getting viewed. Next question. Actually, last question. Will you do uploads on I Only Play Tinker? I want to see you trying Dota 2. I Only Play Tinker is one of my many alternate channels I've made for fun. I think it has like 100 or 200 subs or something. It's a pretty small channel. Back when I used to play Dota 2, Tinker was my favorite character to play. So I created another channel. I was like, I'm going to play a whole bunch of Dota 2 and only play Tinker and upload only Tinker videos. That'll be a nice hook for the channel. Well, after I made the channel, I tried to record some Dota 2 footage, and I figured out that the really crappy laptop I was making videos on at the time could not handle recording Dota 2. So I had to scrap the idea because I simply could not record. And I instead created anime videos on the channel. So I guess it's kind of like my anime channel. If I ever feel like making a video anime related in some way, I put it on that channel. I also don't play Dota 2 anymore at all. I switched over to Heroes of the Storm. Because I got really tired of losing hour-long games. The average game in Dota 2 takes between 45 minutes to like an hour and 20 minutes, with hour-long games being the norm. 45-minute games being really fast. And I did not like playing for that long, only to lose because he had retarded teammates, which I seemed to be getting a really bad losing streak of just terrible teammates or people disconnecting. And I just got tired of losing after an hour-long draw. So I just stopped playing. And then Heroes of the Storm came out, and the average game was about 20 minutes long. And they got rid of like all of the other things I hated about MOBAs in general. And it's just a much better game in my opinion. But I'm not here to talk about MOBA genres, because I can go on forever about why I like Heroes of the Storm. But I also, don't condemn people who play Dota 2 or League of Legends. I just simply prefer the playstyle of Heroes of the Storm now, so I have no reason to go back to the other twos. I tried out League of Legends too, because I heard they had faster games. And for what I did play of it, I liked. It's just, I really didn't want to learn a new meta. I was like, I already know all of the heroes in Dota 2 and all the items and, the meta game for everything. If I were to play League of Legends, I'd have to learn this game's like over 100 heroes. Plus, I'd have to unlock all of them. Because they're not all free like they were in Dota 2. And then I have to learn all the new items and what builds everyone has, because the best way to counter your opponent is to know what they're going to do, so you have to know everything about everyone in order to play, and I really didn't feel like learning all that. So I played a couple of games, and for what I did play, I liked, but I just gave up because I really didn't want to learn a new metagame. And then when Heroes of the Storm came out, wow, they had short games, and they fixed a whole bunch of problems I didn't like about the MOBA genre in general. And they had the model too of League of Legends, where you had to buy the heroes or unlock them periodically, and you had to learn a new metagame, but there's no items, so it was a lot easier to learn. And since I started playing since the beta, I know all the heroes to start off with, and I just keep up with the ones that do come out. So I've just completely converted to a different game, so I don't play Dota 2. Okay, so that's it for the video. If you have any questions you want me to answer in the next one, which I'll make like in a month and a half from now, or a month from now, or 2 weeks from now, whenever I decide to make it, or if I never make it, just put them in the comments, and I'll answer pretty much everything. I answered pretty much all the questions from the last one, it's just I had a lot of repeat questions, which were just variations of the questions I did answer. So if I didn't answer your question, I probably did, because I answered pretty much all of them.